as the CEO, I work in the health sector. I'm a public health specialist. So the one who was charged to make sure that every one of us feels welcome to this session, and I hope you are. So without any further ado, Felicitas Onkware, take it up from here.
Felicitas, you're muted.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Julius. Thank you so much. Julius has already introduced me, so probably without much ado, I understand this is a discussion, as we have said. So I don't know, George, should I hand over to you? You tell me where you want us to start.
I think you're the expert. You just take us through. We just start.
Yes.
Like, for example, we are asking, are we all wounded as Christians or
Yes.
as anybody? So can you
Yes.
start us from there and you tell us your expertise in that area?
Yes.
Yes.
So when we talk about are we wounded as Christians, the question is more of where did I come from? Because a lot of our traumas come from our childhood experiences. And there is no person who can absolutely say in their lifetime they have never gone through a certain experience that actually brought them down. Now, if we look in the Bible, we know Jesus said that in the world, he was talking to his disciples, that there will be tribulations. So issues have always been there. If we check throughout the Bible, we see people who went through issues, and the strongest of the people in the Bible went through issues. So when we talk about childhood traumas, and as we go through, you are going to, I'm going to talk more so that in every disorder that I talk about, I will be able to show you how it affects us and some of it, how it emanates from childhood issues. So when we look at childhood, what I can say is, yes, we have wounds, but how do we handle, or how we handle these wounds is what matters. And the truth is, we know in Psalm 46, we are told that our God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. That is Psalm 46:1. But what does this mean? When we are sick physically, we go to hospital. And when we go to hospital, part of our prayer is, God, may you help the doctor who's going to handle this patient. May the medication that they're receiving be the right medication so that they can get the physical healing. Because we know our God is there, is our refuge, is our strength. But what happens when we have the psychological wound? We dismiss it. We don't look at it. Do I have that anger and I do not understand why I'm so angry? I'm not in a position to think, can I get help? Can I get, maybe it is within my family and I'm not, I've been having issues. Can I talk to somebody in the congregation who could be my confidant so that we journey together? Or can I get help from a professional so that I understand what is it? Why am I so angry? Why do I feel sad? If I've gone through loss, for example, can I be able to ask for help? Because let's remember this, our God is our refuge, yes, but we cannot stay aloof and expect God to come to our rescue. we must be able to take action. And then our God also walks with us. When we take action, good things happen. So what are some of the mental health disorders? How do mental health disorders happen? Or mental health disorders, they happen to all of us. They happen to you, they happen to me. You may have had a dysfunctional family, and a dysfunctional family, when we talk about dysfunctional family, think about a family where there's divorce. Nobody ever gets to stick into a marriage. Think of a family where there are thieves, everybody is a thief. Think of a family where probably there is alcoholism and the whole family is chaos. Probably the question is, do I look at my family? It could be an extended family. Would I want to look closely to find out what happened in this family? Why is it that the family seems to have curses? Can I probably be brave enough to look within my genealogy to find what happened? And these are some of the things, probably when we are in a dysfunctional family, those are the things that give us low self-esteem. Probably I have decided, no, I'm going to be different. I want to be in a church. But when I get in that church, there is part of me that I don't want to share because I'm ashamed of my background, where I come from. So we hold into trauma and it affects us.
So
Have
let me
I
ask
come
you.
from?
Let me ask you,
Sorry, yes,
Felicitas.
George. Yes.
So what you are telling us that even me as a Christian, I can still have health disorder, mental disorder, and I need to talk. The fact that I'm still praying to God, but I still need to get a professional help. Is that what you are trying to say, or is it that everybody, including me and you, we can have the mental disorder, whether we are Christian or not?
Mental health disorder does not discriminate, George. It is in all of us. And as we go through, we are going to realize that we are going to look at some of the statistics to show us how much people are affected as far as mental health disorder is concerned. Now, what I'll say is, as an adult, it is important to address whatever wounds, whatever childhood wounds that have affected you, and you can be able to tell. It's possible for a person to tell when they are not feeling good about themselves. Some of it may be trigger. It could be probably somebody has told you something you don't want to get near this person, and probably what they told you is the truth. For example, they will tell you, oh, I realize most of the time you are isolating yourself from others, and then you are like, they're picking on me. So you can be able to ask yourself, why is this person telling me this? Let me reflect on myself. Do I actually isolate myself? And if I do, what makes me isolate myself? It is the beginning to start looking within self if we want healing. Unless we do that, whatever wounds we are carrying, they will fester, they will become large and never go away. We either can decide to make changes, and if we don't make changes, it becomes worse. So how do we make changes? For example, we can get support from the people who care. For example, within our congregation, if we have,
Madam Felicitas,
yes.
Kindly allow me to take you back a little.
Yes.
As you were speaking, I'm trying to understand the mental health factor.
Yes.
Yes, I know you talked about we are all wounded.
Yes.
And, but I was trying to understand that mental health challenges better, because in our culture or in our you know, our, you know, in our culture, let me just say that mental health challenges are known as when someone is running mad, when they are
Yes.
they're having madness.
Yes.
But how, and you know, when you say someone has mental health challenge, what comes to another person's mind is this person has is mad, you know. So I was trying to place that so that we understand from layman's language what is this exactly mental health challenge, so that as we proceed, I'm able to connect what is this mental health. And
Okay.
yes, it could be coming from a certain wound. Yeah, allow me to back a bit so that we understand that much better.
All right. As we talk, actually, I agree with you that for the longest time, especially in Africa, it's somebody probably was removed their clothes and they're running around. They're probably in the marketplace picking litter. Those are the people who are seen like, oh, something has gone wrong. But a lot of studies have been done to show why do people behave the way they behave. Why is it out of nowhere, if I ask you, how are you? And out of nowhere, you're like, why are you greeting me? I remember there's an advert sometime back, many years ago, we used to advertise something to do with, I think it was a cold tablet for when somebody has a cold and they take it. And they used to say, good morning. And then somebody looks back and asks, what is so good about the morning? So it is our behaviors, the negative behaviors that present, that show that somebody is going through issues. For example, it would be somebody having low self-esteem, detaching from others, and they do not want to relate with others. For example, is where in a family, there's this person who is so conflicting, they do not want happiness. In fact, they come home, for example, if somebody comes home from work and they get into the house, they're like, why are you not serving me food? Before they haven't even sat down. They go to the kitchen and they are throwing things all over. And that, then you start wondering, why is this person so angry? But as we go through this, let me say that I'm going to talk more on mental health disorders so that you can be able to understand them, how they happen. But before I go there, let me give, I don't know whether I've answered part of that question.
Yes, you've answered, and what I'm thinking is that behavior is a major way of getting to know whether someone's having mental health challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, and just on the same point, is it possible that someone could be having mental health challenges and behaving like that, but they do not know that it's a mental health challenge, but the other people can pick it? And how can that person be, you know, be able to be helped to know this is a mental health challenge that I'm going through?
It's very possible that actually most of the time it is others who observe our behaviors. It is others who observe our behaviors. But from my experience, the hardest people to get into the person who is not feeling good about themselves are family members. It is the hardest thing for the family members to get through the person who is going through mental health challenges. And one of the reasons I suspect is within these people, they are already hurt by this person. So they are more of judgmental. So it would be good that, for example, does this person have a close friend who cares? A friend who can be able to observe and tell, I can see so and so's behavior has changed. So and so they are avoiding me. What is happening? Because somebody who's really into depression, for example, or high levels of stress, they are likely to do a lot of avoidance, or if they have been coming for church meetings, you find they're giving excuses. And therefore, what do? It's reaching out to these people, because the telltale signs is their actions. The behavior, what they do, is when you realize something is happening. But before we get there, probably the best thing to do is to give awareness, so that like what we are doing right now, so that individuals themselves can tell, maybe I need to do something. I have been having conflict within my marriage, and we separated. Since we separated, I realized I do not feel like doing anything. I feel like I don't want to get out of bed. It's time I get help. So basically, a lot of awareness, people need awareness. And the more awareness we give, the more people know that they need to take care of themselves. And you do not actually have to need for people to get to that place to tell you, oh, your behavior tells me there's something you're going through. Can we talk about this? No. It is more to do with, you go to work, for example, and you realize, I used to love this work. How come I am having burnout? How come I feel like I don't want to wake up in the morning to go to work? What is happening to me? Everybody in the office, we don't seem to agree. I seem to be at loggerheads with everybody in the office. That is already a telltale sign that something is happening within you.
Yes,
So
excuse me, Felicitas.
Yes.
I've heard what you said, and so what we are saying here is I can have a mental challenges or mental disorders. Necessarily doesn't mean that I must remove my clothes and I must be in a market picking things. But from what you've shared about even changing my behavior, changing my company, can be that. So I would love you to give us a little facts on mental health disorder. Can you give us some of the facts on mental health disorder? What is it? Like now, I'm looking here, we are around 75 people. So
yes.
How many of us here are challenged? Thank you.
Okay. Now, from facts from the National Institute of Mental Health Disorder say that, and this also comes from WHO, they say that 1 in every 4 adults have a diagnosable mental health disorder in any given year. 1 in 4 adults have a diagnosable mental health disorder in any given year. So just by saying that, you can imagine how many people are suffering from mental health disorders. Then we are told, actually, women are almost twice as likely to suffer from major depression than men. And when I look at this, the question is, why is it women suffer from major depression than men? And you see, for example, when we see within the world, we have been talking about girl rights, women rights. Why? Because for the longest time in history, actually globally, women have always been looked down upon as the weaker sex, and it is still happening. If it is within the family and there is fighting, it is the woman most likely to take off. If the woman takes off, she's most likely to be the one who is being stigmatized. You left your marriage, you need to go back, for example. If a woman is widowed, she is likely to be, squandered if she gets to remarry. In fact, somebody will say, she is not thinking about her children. How come she is remarrying? Women face a lot of judgments. But men, you can get, as long as a man has status, actually most likely, nobody asks what kind of family do they have. If you check around during campaigns, I don't know, you have seen how women are put down with the insults. Even when there is nothing, they will be called names because women have always been looked down upon. And I think that could be part of the reason. So most people who commit suicide have a diagnosable disorder. Most people who committed suicide have a diagnosable mental health disorder, which of course we are going to see what are these mental health disorders. Now, the other statistic, sorry, we are getting there, George, but okay. I also wanted to bring about the other statistics is that 18% of people ages 18 to 54 have an anxiety disorder at any given year, 18%. So if of people ages 18 to 54 years, and this is a productive age. This is actually a productive age. So you can see how many people are suffering out here. In fact, we can say even as we are talking about this here, and those of us who have signed in, we are already struggling in one way or another. Now, this,
so, I'll want to ask you, from what you shared, give us 2 or 3 examples of some of the anxiety disorder that we might even ask today. We are going through. Just mention them, then you can go ahead. Like we say, like between 18 and 54.
Yes.
Have an anxiety disorder in any given year. Like right now, give us 2 or 3, just an example, then you go ahead.
So before I get there, I just wanted to also point out that if 1 in 4 adults have a diagnosable mental health disorder, then what are we saying? There is a likelihood that within our families, there is somebody who's suffering from a mental health disorder. There is a likelihood that in our workplace, there is somebody suffering from a mental health disorder. And there is a likelihood that within our congregation, there are people suffering from mental health disorders. So when we talk about anxiety disorders, think about panic attacks. It could be OCDs or obsessive compulsive disorder, where you find maybe somebody is washing their hands or they are obsessed with organization. It could be PTSD or post-traumatic disorder, or those. It could be other phobias that actually affect people. Then we also have other disorders and other disorders. Yes.
I'd want to catch you and ask you something like, so from what you said, some of the anxieties, so can you say like, it's a Sunday morning, I'm in the car and the children are still dragging themselves, their mother has come, and now as I drive to church, I'm not talking. Can that be also considered as anxiety? Because most of the time, all mothers preparing children going to school on a Monday morning, and they're still going to work, so they are shouting. And those ones we say, though they are not diagnosable, but can we say those are anxiety? I just want to confirm, is it a yes or a no?
It would be both, George. One, it could be anxiety of, if I get late, what does it mean? Where does this fear of getting late come from? Or it could be that actually this person is angry about something and they are just angry, so they are lashing out to others. They can see the mother is struggling. So still, it means, yes, this person is dealing with something. What is it that is altering your mood? It's a Sunday morning, you are going to church. What is it? And that's where we start asking ourselves, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Not necessarily, it can be anxiety disorder. And yes, it can be if I once had a client who actually had anxiety disorder or panic attacks. Panic attacks to the point where they started going to a psychiatrist and they were given medication. But interestingly, anytime they carried this medication and they didn't want to take it. And they were this was a very aware person. They knew where their panic attack was coming from and they wanted to go through therapy. But interestingly, he made sure anytime this person left the house, they had the medication with them. Now, this medication kind of gave them a kind of protectiveness, a false protectiveness that I'm okay as long as I have the medication. One time, he actually changed vehicles and they realized in the middle of nowhere, he had he didn't carry the medication. What did he do? He actually had to call the wife and asked her to take the medication to him. That's how serious anxiety disorder can be. Now, some other disorders is PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. And the post-traumatic stress disorder comes as a result of maybe somebody went through rape, somebody went through any kind of childhood abuse. It could be verbal abuse, it could be physical abuse, it could be sexual abuse in childhood. It could be abandonment and neglect. Whatever it brings down somebody's emotions. And what I like saying is, any abuse or any neglect tampers with somebody's emotion. We cannot detach and, for example, and say there is emotional abuse that is not attached to any of the 5 abuses we know. For example, there is sexual abuse, there is verbal abuse, there is physical abuse, there is spiritual abuse, there is neglect and abandonment. All these tamper with our emotions. Then we have schizophrenia, and the schizophrenia mostly starts in teenagehood, and it's related more with the environment, with the genetic, but can be triggered by the environment. And when we talk about the environment, it's obviously maybe somebody being exposed to any kind of abuse.
Maybe as you continue, is someone asking,
yes.
You had mentioned earlier that other people can notice someone's stress, mental health challenge, yet the individual doesn't know. So if this is maybe a family member or as a Christian, it is someone in the congregation, knowing that a majority of Christians spend more time with other Christians than at times than their family. What would be the best way to bring this awareness to them, for them to know this behavior that is likely that you have a mental health challenge? Yes.
One of the things we can do is the first thing we do is not being judgmental and being there for this person, walking with them. We can decide, for example, and ask this person, you can go out for a cup of coffee and just talk about the general things. When somebody feels there's somebody who cares for them genuinely, they will actually open out. They may not open immediately, but you can see a change of attitude. If, for example, we say, hey, you seem stressed, That's actually, the person picks it as if we are judging them. But being there for the person, not talking so much, but genuinely showing that you care for this person, they actually come closer and they want to connect with others. Because the world out there, where do the mental disorders come from? Of course, they come from our environment. People have gone through all sorts of abuse. People have seen a lot. And therefore, some of them, they don't even know who to trust. So to gain that person's trust, the first important thing we do is to create rapport with that person and bring them closer. If they say what they are struggling with, it's okay then if you are not in a position to help them. You can then suggest and ask them whether they will be willing to see a professional. And one of the things as Christians we struggle with, a lot of us Christians, we are very likely to say, let's pray over this. Yes, let's pray over this. But then let's get help. Have you seen somebody who you can talk to? If this person told you they have been having a stomachache that is not ending and they are really struggling and they are anxious, the first question probably you will ask them, have you seen a doctor? So it is the same with mental health issues. When somebody brings out their struggles, you pray over it, then encourage them to take action and they probably work with them.
While you're on that point,
Yes.
you know, that part of let us pray is a key thing when it comes
It is a very key, yes, yes.
Probably you can highlight more on how do we balance that, because as Christians, we need to pray about these things. But at the same time, there's the medical part of it. How do we know when to see the doctor? How do we balance between the praying part and the medical part? And as you answer that, there's also another question that has come about the post-traumatic stress disorders. And
yes.
the question is, majority of us, we go through challenges as children. That could be emotional or psychological or physical abuse. But as we grow, as time goes by and we grow, we in a way learn how to cope and forget about what happened in the past. Does that still affect us? Or once you outgrow it in age and life experience, then you forget what happened?
Okay. I said prayer is important, but once we have prayed, we ask this person to take action. And to take action is, have you seen somebody you can talk to? If you know you cannot be able to help them, maybe you are talking to them and you have the skills to help, that's okay. If you can be able to help, that is okay. If you are not in a position to help, it's okay then to encourage them to see a professional. Now, to see a professional, maybe the lowest level they can start is to have maybe a therapist to talk to. Maybe this therapist may realize maybe this person needs to go for evaluation to find out whether they have a disorder that needs medication from a psychiatrist. But working with this person and being there for them is the first step, and non-judgmental is the first step. And then mostly being confidential with what they are sharing. Somebody may start with this: I want to tell you something, but kindly keep it private. That means kindly keep it within yourself and help them process whatever they are sharing. Because Once they start like that, it tells you where their fear is. They do not want to be exposed. Now, when we talk about PTSD, sorry.
While you're on that point of confidentiality,
Yes.
This has been majorly because of the stigma that has been there with mental health challenge within our communities. And you find that even when you tell someone to go and see a professional, they actually do not want to, because they'll even ask you, are you saying that I'm mad? You know? So is there another way of still supporting this person before they get to a point of accepting to see a professional? Is there a way of supporting them? Can this person, maybe it's a family member, can the family member be probably supported with information on how to take care of this family member who is having mental health challenge, but they have not gotten to a level of accepting to see the professional?
Now, I will still answer yes or no. Number one, it could be home is where the problem is. So if you are taking them back home and maybe their secret, they don't want it to be known at home, then you are not helping this person. If they are within your congregation or it is a friend, it's okay to encourage them. Ask them, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? Somebody may tell you, I just need you to listen to me. Then as you listen, you may say, I would like to encourage you, if you don't mind, to see somebody you can talk to. This sounds heavy. I'm encouraging you to see somebody you can talk to. And probably they say, am I mad? Then you can give your awareness about what you know about stressful situations and give them confidence that by talking to somebody, it doesn't mean that you are mad, but they will give you clarity on the way forward. Or as they facilitate the process, they are able to help you find your own clarity on the way forward. So being there with that person and helping them understand. But one of the things I pick, a lot of people actually understand the value of doing therapy. A lot of people now do. 10 years, 15 years ago, it was very difficult for most people. Why? Because we have become very proactive, and there's a lot of advocacy on mental health illness or mental health disorders. Now, in relation...
Let me ask something,
yes.
Felicitas. From what Liz has asked,
yes.
I'm not able to pay for the therapy. So from what I'm getting from you, is it okay? Like maybe some churches, they have a small family group. They have like some have Jumias, yeah? So if there's somebody within the family group that you can be able to talk to or who can listen to you, are you saying it's okay to talk to that person? Because not all of us will have money to go to a therapist. Then you are saying once we create awareness and help him to understand what is going on, like maybe gets insight, then it's okay to do that. I'm just confirming, because not everybody will be able to have money to pay for therapy.
That's very true. Therapy, for example, if you go to Kenyatta Hospital, especially for the young people, actually they don't charge for mental health issues. Somebody can get help, can talk to somebody. And then within our churches, we have professionals. Is it possible to identify a professional, or if a group of professionals, somebody will say, yes, I agree, I can take 3 people on pro bono basis. I do that for my church. I have those people who are not able to afford, they actually come for pro bono services. And it is something I have offered to give because I understand the value of having a healthy mind or being all-rounded health, both physically, spiritually, and mentally. Somebody else, yes.
I'm hearing about issues to do with pro bono, and I'm asking, like, if I don't want to see this therapist in church, but is the only therapist who is offering pro bono services, are there organizations like we can refer them, or if you know, I don't know, or some I hear this telephone counseling where somebody doesn't see. Do you think there are things like that now in Nairobi that people can be referred and they just call the number? I don't know if there is.
I know there is, for example, suicide alert. I haven't been able to get in touch with them to know whether they take the client through the sessions or it is talking to the person within that time.
Okay.
But one of the things I've done, me as a person, sometimes I've been able to actually, because I have counselors, friends who are counselors, and because we understand the need, George, you are one of them. Because you understand the need, I've sent you people on pro bono basis and you have done it. So we actually come in to help when it is very necessary.
Now my question is,
yes,
as a church now, and now you are the friend of the church,
yes,
can we send you pro bono 1 or 2 at least in a month?
Yes,
yes.
If it is a case, yes, George, if it is a case that is needy, not somebody taking advantage that there is now pro bono, but if it is a case that is needy, yes, I don't mind doing it.
Okay, now, then because of time, I would want you just to take us through some of the diagnosable mental health without just saying them, without explaining, because now we'll come now to where now it will be
somebody,
sort of like,
George, somebody asked a question, and I think it will be rude.
Yes, just answer that first.
Yes.
Answer that before you go.
Yes, Elizabeth, it is something to do with PTSD, that can somebody go through life with their PTSD and they continue, and yes, I went through childhood issues, but I'm okay, I'm doing well. They go through it, but they are struggling. Now, we know there is a relationship between the body and the mind. When the mind is not doing well, the body is pressured up. And no wonder we have people who you hear somebody has diabetes, then we are told, oh, you go to hospital, you are told, avoid stressful situations. You are told, eat a certain way. Why? Because eating also becomes a disorder for us. We eat to feel good. We are not eating health because there's something troubling us in the mind. And we are trying to numb our feelings, either through drinking, which will affect our liver, or through eating, which of course will impact on our health, whichever way it's gonna affect the body. So PTSD, somebody may look okay. And probably the question I will ask, I've seen so many people struggling with non-communicable diseases. Is it possible that it is because they're dealing with a lot and the body is communicating something? The body is communicating something. When the mind is not at peace, the body cannot be at peace. And we can see how PTSD presents itself through lifestyles of people. Through lifestyles of people. Even those of us who are in church, we are not safe. Somebody, I know it was Karl Marx who said, at some point that religion is the opium of the people. But looking at it, I was asking myself, and I'm like, if I wake up in the morning and the only place I want to be fasting in the morning before I have a 3-year-old and I'm not thinking how they are going to eat or they're having breakfast, I want to rush to church to go and clean the church. Then I want to make tea there. Then when they're asking their women groups, I am the one who is in front there. Then they're saying, you know, we had to go and pray for this group of people. We need a few people to accompany us. I am number one there. Always the only place I feel comfortable in is in church. And when I'm praying, I'm actually crying to the point where it's not just inviting the spirit. Probably there is more than just being a church member. And then when we are talking about that again, the Shakahola situation speaks a lot of volumes because it is something that is within home. When we are desperate, we don't talk about our issues, a lot happens. I don't know partly whether I have answered those questions.
You've answered
yes.
very well. And I'm looking at what you are saying.
Mm.
But also, I believe and trust, like, when you have PTSD, you can be covering up so much with something else. If it's your work, you become very perfect so that people should not see your flaws. But
Yes.
what I know and I believe is there will be a trigger. One day there will be a trigger and then it will explode. Is that true?
Triggers are always there. And that's why when somebody, that's why we find a lot of people in the bars. And unfortunately, when we talk about triggers, they bring out a spiral of mostly addictions when we are numbing our PTSD.
Okay.
So, yes. Can I
Good.
continue or yes?
I feel like,
yes.
okay, Liz, say something.
Yeah, there's, if I may ask one question that has come here before we proceed to the next one.
Yes.
It's asking that most of the individuals that I've seen in the church who have stress is because their stress is emerging from other relationships, like from their spouses, their children, or extended family. How can we help this church member to deal with the stress emerging from this other relationship without necessarily being undergoing mental health challenge? Yeah.
Actually, issues to do with the family issues. In families, that's where triggers happen proper. That is where that's where PTSD exposes itself. Like, for example, if you find it's a couple and a situation comes up, there could be 3 reactions. The number 1 reaction could be somebody wants to be aggressive and immediately a fight breaks out. The second reaction is somebody would see the other person coming and avoidance happens immediately because in their mind, this person is gonna fight. The number 3 scenario is where these 2 people, somebody will realize, oh, both of us, our emotions are rising up. I need to move from this situation, but later when we calm down, we can be able to communicate. So within family, that is where if you find somebody avoiding situations and they don't want to talk about it, know somebody is dealing with the PTSD. Now, when it comes to family, thinking you are fixing others so that you can be at a good place, it doesn't always work. When somebody comes for therapy, it's not others you are fixing, it is you, the person. For example, when the 2 of you are fighting, why do you feel the need to shout? Why do you feel the need to say, I'm walking out of this relationship? Why do you need to go silent for a whole month, 2 months without talking? Is it because you fear this person? Because you know where it is leading? Of course, it is taking you to your PTSD. Or is it because you emotionally want to punish this person because you know where it comes from? So basically what I'm saying, within the family, when something is happening and you are helping this person, it is still the first person to find themselves. Actually, you'll find when one person changes, the others obviously start to change. Because if, for example, we used to fight, all of a sudden you find one person is calm, maybe the other person came drunk and you decide to avoid them, but in the morning, you ask them, there's something I wanted to talk about. I would like us to talk about this. Without, feeling like you need to defend yourself in any way, but bringing out the issue as it is, then you're starting to heal yourself. So it is the person, not others to change, but this person. So can I go through the mental health disorders?
Yeah. So now, what I want is you take us through. You just mentioned about some of the diagnosable mental health disorder. When we say they are diagnosable, some of them, their tests are done so that you know so and so has this. So we would love you just to mention them. Then after you mention them, without not going into many details, because and then now we'll come to some of the possible causes of mental health, and here we'll have other two experts coming in to to answer questions with you, and some of more questions now will come. We'll have Dr. Nguku, we'll have Charles and you. So you just let us know some of the diagnosis of mental health disorder, then we'll now start asking you questions about possible causes of mental health, because I have some questions here also I'll be able to throw there. Thank you.
So some of the symptoms of mental health disorders, because, for example, we have depressive disorder. How would you know that somebody is going through this? There is extended period of intensive sadness. They have insomnia or lack of sleep or too much sleep. They don't want to get out of bed. There is lethargy. There is loss of interest. They don't want to do anything. Sometimes they are hopeless. They feel like they can, why am I here in this world? There is avoidance of social situations. And I think I talked about that when you find somebody not wanting to interact with others. For some, there is guilt. And guilt probably because they did something and it's haunting them. There is worry. There could be eating disorders or even other addictions. There is, I can't function finally, and probably they start having suicidal thoughts. That's when the hopelessness completely happens and they're like, I can't live anymore. Then we have anxiety disorders. This is, you find somebody, there is a lot of nervousness, restlessness, there is intense feelings, there is a sense of impending danger or doom, just thinking something bad is gonna happen. There is increased heart rate, and they are not at peace at all. They breathe rapidly. There is a lot of sweating. For some, you will see the hands are trembling and the sweaty hands, they are not settled. Trouble focusing on anything but on that current thing that is occupying their head. And then they are weak. Sometimes they feel weak, and you can understand if they are not rested enough, of course, they will feel weak and tired, and they have a lot of social anxiety. Those are some I can talk about, George. And then we can talk about complicated grief as a disorder. And when we talk about complicated grief, is where maybe somebody has lost a loved one, or they lost a job, or they lost a relationship that didn't work, and they were not able to deal with whatever with whatever happened. So in complicated grief, you find if somebody is not able to deal with this and takes a lot of time, they are stuck there. You find somebody is not able to focus on anything but on that loss. They try to numb their feelings as much as possible. They could numb their feelings through sitting and watching movies throughout without getting up. They could numb their feelings through drinking. They could numb their feelings through eating. Then there is detachment. They don't want to stay around people. They are isolating themselves. You call them, where are you? Can we meet? They say, I was handling something, I'm not available. But the truth is, they do not want to be around people. There is lack of meaning within them, and the lack of meaning and also lack of trust towards others. They have intense sorrow, and there's a lot of contemplations. For example, maybe I caused what happened. If I was there, they may not have died. If I was good to them, they may not have left me. If I had sent the money home, my mother would not have died. Or if I treated my wife well, she may not have left me. Such contemplations. Then we have relationship disorders, and relationship disorders come from.
I want to cut you a bit. Where, because already you've moved to the possible causes of mental disorder, and I would want now we hear some of the experiences of the other two and you, and I think I'll let Liz maybe to ask about loss and grief. Maybe, I don't know, Liz, are you going to ask Dr. Nguku or Charles? We are now talking about the possible causes of mental health, which already Felicitas has already started talking about. But now we want to hear some of people practice and maybe the experiences. Because for me, I know when I lost my mom, I stayed like 8 years. I was the strong man, making things happen. I didn't cry, blah, blah. But 8 years down the road, when my auntie, one of my auntie died, I cried until people were asking, hey, you really loved your auntie, but they didn't know I was crying about my mother. So I pass it to Liz to ask the other. So anybody can answer, either Charles, Dr. Nguku, or Felicitas, but Felicitas already started talking about.
I can actually give, I can also give my experience.
Yes, give us an experience and tell us something, an experience that you've had with a client, but just in brief, because we want also Charles to say something and even Dr. Nguku.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe as you touch on that, I think this is one of the unavoidables in life, and especially with Christians, there's this notion that when we lose our loved ones, we should know that they have gone to a better place. They would not want to come back to where we are, and we need to be at peace with that. And because of that is an area that is very suppressed when it comes to Christianity. It's never dealt with in a healthy way, so to say, because of the perception that we should not cry. They have gone to see their maker. You know, they are more at peace. Yeah, probably can also look at that area more in terms of Christianity. Us as Christians, and maybe also Dr. Nguku can also come in to tell us more on that area. As Christians, how do we deal with this area? Because yes, we are Christians, but at the same time, we are hurting from losing our loved ones. How do we balance that?
So, just sharing my experience. I lost a sister in 1981. and it was a sudden death. And a lot of complicated griefs happen with a sudden death when we are not able to accept that the loved one you were just saying they have left or they have died. And you can imagine since 1981, I finally dealt with it in 2007 when I was doing my higher diploma. That's when I was helped to process my pain. I actually have a client who lost a child in sudden death. And what they are dealing with are all these signs I talked about, feeling like if they are dead, I don't have any other child. What is the meaning of life? If they are dead, maybe I should have been there for them. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And they are not able to get out of bed. They actually sometimes, because it's an ongoing, their ongoing sessions, sometimes you will find you are waiting for them to come in. They just call and tell you, I've just woken up. And you actually have to understand them. So maybe I can share those two and let the others come in.
Yeah, let me come in now, Elizabeth. And George, thank you so much, Felicitas. I've listened to this conversation with a lot of interest, despite the fact that I've been traveling. But now I have stopped. I'm not putting my video on because it will be dark. I'm sitting somewhere in the car. So please bear with me because I think it would be better for me to focus on this when I'm sitting out here. Yeah, thank you so much, Felicitas, for this very, very, very lively, very enlightening delivery of these issues of mental health, and especially you are being able to link them to the whole aspect of Christianity. And like all of us have been talking about, we have quite some confusion. Many times it starts right from not being able to understand what mental health issues are. And variously, I've heard Christians say that somebody is simply mad. And basically maybe they've been cursed. So being Africans, that's quite heavy. So that now we say someone is just going through some generational curse. Sometimes religiously we possibly put it things like that. Sometimes we say that there are things in their family that are pseudoscientific, not science, but something like has come down from somewhere, so there's nothing we can do about it. Other times I've had people confuse mental health issues, especially schizophrenia, with demon possession. This person is demon possessed, and someone will possibly now either go to a witch doctor to have the demons removed, or maybe look for a church where demons are removed properly, instead of seeking medical attention. Because we do know, like I liked how you said it, Felicitas, that these are diagnosable conditions. We know what causes schizophrenia in terms of overproduction of certain chemicals in your brain, so that if you go to hospital, this can be diagnosed and treated early or something. Same thing with bipolar and others. So when people just say the person is demon possessed without seeking medical attention to be able to have it properly diagnosed, then we miss a huge opportunity to help someone. When someone has malaria, surely they go to the hospital and some tests are done and they are given medicine. It's the same way, like Felicitas was saying, when you do have a mental condition, you go to someone who knows what to treat, how to diagnose it and how to treat it. In that case, then I really, really appreciate this conversation among the 98 of us who are in this conversation, even for us to pass on this message that it is not always demon possession. For example, someone who has demon, if you look at the New Testament, you will not find someone saying, I am demon possessed. because a demon-possessed person, allow me now to speak like a teacher in the church. A demon-possessed person will not know they are demon-possessed because the demon will be speaking through them. So they are possessed of the demon. Are you guys getting it? So if you hear someone saying, I am demon-possessed, then you already know they are not according to the style that we see in the New Testament. It will be the demon that's totally possessed the person so as to speak through the person. And the demon will not say, I am demon possessed, you know, and you'll see, look at the New Testament, you know, the Gospels and read all the demon possession episodes, and you see that the person will be so incapacitated as to have the demon speaking through them. So someone with schizophrenia is likely to say, I am demon possessed. And when you look at somebody with schizophrenia, you are likely to think they are, if you don't know what it is, because they are hallucinating and they are seeing things that do not exist and having conversations with imaginary people, or thinking that they are some other powerful people. So I think there are two questions that came out. One was, what are the causes? And I think Felista has dealt with that pretty well. The environment, and I like the way she is able to link this with our childhood traumas. You have been dealing with so much in your life, and something just doesn't go right. Therefore, you need to have some things corrected in the way that, you know, your brain processes that. And there are also some genetic predispositions, so that you know that there's a gene somewhere that is causing overproduction of a certain chemical, or underproduction of a certain chemical that you need to balance the way you think. So those are possibly two causes, basically genetic predisposition and the environment in which you are in or in which you grew up. Let me speak now to the last issue Elizabeth spoke about, the issue of Christians and mourning. I'll just draw one very simple example. Jesus goes to his friend's place. He has died. Lazarus has died. Jesus knows he's going to raise him from the dead. He's been dead for 4 days. These were his very, very close friends, together with his sisters, Martha and Mary. He knows he's going to raise him from the dead. But the Bible has the shortest verse in the English version. It's not the shortest verse in the Greek version, but in the English version, it's the shortest verse. Then Jesus wept. He wept over the death of his friend. So as Christians, it's not correct to say that people should not cry because somebody has gone to, quote unquote, a better place. We feel the loss, we mourn, we cry, we feel like we'll never see this person again. We express ourselves through being able to mourn. If we are followers of Christ, and he would weep over somebody he knows is gonna raise from the dead, so can we. And so there is no justification for a Christian to tell somebody or for a Christian to feel like they should not cry or they should not weep, they should not mourn over somebody who has fallen. I lost a very close friend not long ago. I'm still mourning. There are times I sit by myself and all I'm thinking about is, how did Gitau just die? How did we just now go and bury him? You know, and I feel like breaking down when I think about the circumstances under which he died. And he was a Christian, he was a disciple, but I miss him. And I miss my mother-in-law, I miss my sister, I miss these people, and I cry over them still. So it's okay for a Christian to mourn the loss of a loved one. I don't know whether that helps, Elizabeth, or if somebody wants to add something else.
Thank you. That is very well answered. And in simple terms, it is okay for us to cry, even as a Christian. And maybe before I let you go, someone is asking, please ask him to explain what it means to be bipolar and what are the signs of bipolar.
I'll let Felicitas and maybe George to deal with that. I know bipolar means two-sided, too happy or too upset. So you oscillate from either being too happy, or in the next minute you are too sad. So that's why it's bi. You are in the two poles. So bipolar means that, but I will not venture into that area. I'll bite my tongue. So the people who have gone to school over that particular issue are here. George and Felicitas, please. Bipolar ni nini?
What I'll say, Dr. Cook, what you said, it's either you are up or you are down, but bipolar is a big thing. It's a topic that we can do on its own. And I'm not seeing how we can squeeze it in 1 minute, but it will be good, like to know like some of the signs and symptoms. And there are those who are usually hyperactive, and there is time. I don't know if it's weather or what. Sometimes they're very cool. Sometimes they're all over the place, and you'll wonder what is going on. However, like what Felista had said, some of the diagnosable disorders, you go to the hospital, then we will be helped. But sometimes we want to hide our children or our relatives who have those kind of things in a room in our houses. Then we are not helping them. But towards the end of this, we'll be able to ask the audience, what next would you like us to talk about? And I think bipolar, we can pick bipolar at some point so that we can explain it, because people confuse it so much. I think that is, maybe if Felisa want to say one or two things, but I feel it's a big thing. If we start talking about it, it will open a Pandora box. We'll not finish what we had planned to do. That is my take. Felisa, would you like to say one or two things?
Okay. Probably what I can say, bipolar, you will find when somebody is at the manic place, you will find them, their moods are elevated. They go out spending recklessly. You will find that they just want to do things you don't understand. And then that will go probably for 2 weeks. Then there's a crash where you find this person does not want to do anything, does not want to talk to anybody. They just are in their own. And a lot of the times they are preoccupied with the suicidal thoughts. So probably what I can say is, if somebody comes, for example, to me, talking about those symptoms, I will actually encourage them to go for further evaluation so that it can be ascertained whether they need further help, because bipolar means they need medication.
Yeah, my point exactly, Felicitas, that you see, someone may have bipolar, which is classified as one of the mood disorders. When the proper tests are done, then the doctors will know that this person has a deficient production of some certain chemicals, serotonin and norepinephrine, exactly. So then they will treat you accordingly. So I think the big carry home for us is, let's not just reduce all these mental health issues to either this person needs to have demons removed or just to be prayed for. I think that was very well put.
Yeah.
When someone has malaria, we don't say, let's just pray for him upon a malaria. We don't usually say that. We go to hospital and get medication and pray that the medication will work, and pray that the doctor will make the right decision in the diagnosis and prescription. That's what we pray for. And I think I'm emphasizing what was said earlier. The same thing, if someone has schizophrenia, there's an overproduction of dopamine as one of the causes.
Okay,
so
thank you.
You see, I am mentioning the particular chemicals because I want people to understand that for this particular aspect of mental health issues, there are chemicals that things happen right there that can be taken care of with other chemicals, so that we'll be encouraging people to actually get to the hospital for it.
Yes.
George.
Thank you. Now you trigger me to talk. I didn't want to talk, but let me just say in brief, a summary. So when we talk about bipolar, it's a disorder that is associated with episode of what Felisa said, mood swings ranging from being depressive which is the lows,
The
and
highs.
manic, which they usually call the highs. And they say the exact cause of bipolar disorder isn't known, but apart from what now the investigation is going on, what Dr. Nguku said, some of those chemical, but a combination of genetical environment and altered brain structure and chemistry usually plays a role. And you find within the manic episode may include symptoms such as high energy, reduced need for sleep, they want to read the whole night, loss of touch with reality, they are saying things, and you wonder what is going on. But within the depressive episode may include symptoms such as low energy, they want to sleep throughout, low motivation, loss of interest in daily activity. If they were going to school, the 4 days they've gone to school, they're doing well, they're doing their assignment, and then on the 5th day, they are on their lows. They don't want to even come out of the bed. So you find mood episode lasts days to months at a time, and may also be associated with suicidal thoughts. And we are saying treatment is usually lifelong and often involve combination of many, saying like bipolar disorder is a disorder associated with the episode of mood swings, which range from depressive lows, depressive, which we call the lows, and the manic, which we call the highs. And we are saying the exact cause of bipolar disorder isn't known. So we should not say it's urogia, but a combination of genetic, environment, and altered brain structures and chemistry may play a role. Those chemical Dr. Nguku was talking about. And then we say in manic episode may include symptoms such as high energy, reduced need for sleep, loss of touch with reality. They're just saying their own thing. Though this is what I'm saying is not exhaustive all the signs. And then depressive episode may include symptoms such as low energy, low motivation, and loss of interest in daily activity. And then we find the mood episode lasts days to months at a times and may also be associated with suicidal thoughts. So when they are in their lows, that is when they think of killing themselves. And they say treatment is usually lifelong, often involving combination of being given drugs when they are lows, they are given something to bring them up a bit when they're too high, so that it balances, and then somebody to talk to them, which is psychotherapy. Thank you. So we want to ask, like, so Charles, what is your experience about what we are talking about, loss and grief?
Maybe, sorry, just a minute. As Charles answers, I can also ask a question. It was asked in the previous chat, but I think when we dropped off, it got lost. But I try and remember how it was asking. That this participant was asking that their daughter, at one point, they had an exchange. And now the daughter left home and went and came back after 2 weeks. Then again, she was quiet, didn't want to talk, left again and came back after 6 months. But later, the daughter revealed that she was raped, and that is why she was withdrawing from everyone. But when the parents suggested that she sees a counselor, the daughter was not willing. Yet this is an issue that is affecting her. How can this parent support the child to get to see, to be supported, yet she doesn't want to see a counselor? Over.
Felicitas, you're muted, and I think that belongs to you. Please handle it.
Yes. One of the things, probably what I'm picking is the daughter took off, not being judgmental, but there is fear of, if I say this, what is gonna happen to me? Probably number one. Number two, there's a likelihood they are blaming themselves for what happened, even if they didn't cause it. So this person, the daughter, needs a lot of understanding from the significant members of the family. If they have disclosed what happened to the parents, the first thing is to be there for them. The first thing is for them to be there for them. before even we go to them seeking for counseling, it is first explaining to this daughter, do they need to see a gynecologist to see whether there are any complications? To see, you get these things are all rounded. Could it be they have an STI, or maybe they contracted HIV, for example? So basically first helping the child, because they are not feeling good about themselves, explaining to them why they need to do what they need to do. For example, if we are taking you to a gyno, if we are taking you to a doctor, why are we doing this? If we are taking you to a therapist, why are we doing this? In fact, if they take them, for example, for checkup in hospital, there's a likelihood that the hospital will encourage the daughter to go for psychotherapy. So that's what I would say. First and foremost is this person to feel like they're deeply supported by the loved ones. That's where it starts. Without anybody judging them, for them to deeply feel they're working with them.
Okay.
So what I'm
thank you.
getting from you is that this daughter first needs a lot of support from the family before we get to refer them to another support, external support. Thank you.
Yes, and even the family need help. Even the family need help because of what has happened. The mother would also be confused, yeah, or the father, both the father, the mother, the siblings will be confused. So actually the whole family need help so that they can be at a good place with this young one.
Okay. Thank you, Felicitas. I just wanted to add, like, what is the relationship of the mother and what is the relationship of the mother and the child? Because I'm seeing like my child going away for 2 days and coming back, 1 week coming back, 6 months. So I want to explore that. That was just something I was thinking in my head. Yes, back to Liz. To Charles or to Liz?
Seems like Liz has gone on a little rest, but thank you. This is a wonderful dialogue, and Felicitas, thank you so much. Now you've given us quite a bit of detail, Dr. Nguku, and when we talk about laws, many times we tend to focus a lot much more on death, but there's also as well the loss of a job, you know. Because some of us, we are so committed to the employment and the roles given us in the company. And I have known and I've met of friends who were really committed. They go early in the morning, and that was a source of their livelihood, and that what took care of their families. And then the nature of how this person was let go traumatized him so much that at the end of it all, you know, he didn't even want to look for another job, because in his imagination was, I will be treated the same. And so these are some of the things that even as we go through, you know, the possible causes of loss, we got to think about things like job, maybe our health, you know, that which we value most. For me, the active years normally is between, you know, teenage, when now you leave, you become a man, and you get until 60, you expect to be very strong. And for me, my health was compromised. And the moment my health was compromised, it was difficult for me to accept. And accepting limitations that we have at that moment and surrender, you know, because I did not accept it, I ended up developing high blood pressure. And with high blood pressure, you know, you have a headache, and these are possible causes of mental health, to also seek to understand our limitation, because naturally the way God created you and I, God made us in his image, but that image was compromised. So issues, situations will come. There are times you'll find we will battle and not accept, and the better way is to accept, because not accepting the circumstances, situation by looking for solution becomes a cause of that mental health. I think the part that I want to be passionate a bit about is relationship. And I see this, now as a minister, as a pastor, a man who works with people, you see marriages suffering, and they suffer while solutions are there. And one of the lessons I've learned over the years in my marriage is we all are brought up with certain beliefs and values and laws. Some are cultural, some have been passed on to us, by parents. And so you get into a marriage expecting that your partner will quickly accept the laws that have ruled your life over the years. So you are expecting of her to know the rules, but yet we are not communicating them clearly. We are expecting of them to show us love in a particular way, but that particular way as well, we are not expressing. These are mistakes that I've done myself. And so we end up having a lot of problem in marriages, and you end up having headaches. And at the end of it all, children are the ones who suffer. And so the number one cause in relationship, is lack of clear communication. Lack of clear communication, where also that comes from lack of awareness. Who am I? What are my laws? What are the things that I value most in my life? Number two, have I communicated that to my partner? Early years of my marriage, that caused me a lot of problems. I would have headache all the time. And by that, I would make the pharmaceutical industry very rich, because you end up taking headaches all the time, headache, Panadol all the time, to feel better. But the solution over time, they say a young age, what a young man what an old man can see while they're seated, a young man will see only when they climb trees. Over time, experience has taught me that if I don't communicate clearly with my wife, not when we have issues, many times we wait when we have issues. No, when we are okay, we set time weekly and express to her, this is what I appreciate. This is how I would love to be treated. And this is why. Self-awareness. And so as we continue repeating that, she gets to understand me. Hence, at the end of it all, we end up avoiding the mental condition, the strain we have in relationship. For we know, and we've heard of people, wonderful, pretended to be having a good marriage, Christians and their leaders. But what ended up happening, you find the husband ends up either killing the entire family or beating the wife, and you wonder what happened to this angel. A lack of a clear understanding. So even as we handle this about the relationship issues, clarity is very important. I need to bring that up as well, just to add up. Thank you.
Charles, thank you. Thank you. You've actually mentioned several things, but two things have really caught my attention. Like when you said about having high blood pressure because of a mental health challenge that you did not handle well. That means that if we don't deal with our mental health challenges well, then we can develop other health challenges, which even makes it more complicated. But you also said that we need to accept, which now takes us again to the personal responsibility. Maybe we can touch more on my responsibility or the personal responsibility as the person who has mental health challenge. Yes, we have talked of it in the other end. How do I approach this person? How do I support this person? But what is my responsibility?
I was hoping to have ended there and handed over to Felicitas. It is so easy. Naturally, we don't want to be seen as a wrong one. And so we look for who to blame. And so you'll hear Christians blaming the church, blaming the pastor. The question I always ask people, at the end of the judgment day, as a pastor, I will speak from the scriptural point of view. On the judgment day, will it be your spouse who will be standing there who will be judged because they made you? It will be me. It will be me, because literally, by the time my wife does what she does, and then that triggers me, the moment it triggers me, it is me who reacts. But do I necessarily need to react? And the example that I always give is, you go, in the lake region, people shower and they shower around, all that. But if a madman comes and takes your clothes and starts to run around with your clothes, and then you start chasing after the madman, who will they say that is madder than the other one? You, who is actually well, is the one who will be called mad for chasing the madman. The son of so and so has become mad. And this is what is happening in relationships. Instead of taking responsibility for who I am, instead of taking responsibility for my triggers, because my wife or my partner or the church only triggers something that is not healthy within me. We got to understand, because I will not heal my wife. I can only heal me, Charles Omolo. But what happened, just like Felicitas said, if you find one healthy person, the effect of the healthy individual normally spreads to the family. Only one, but repetition of that. And so it's important for me to take responsibility. How do I take responsibility? Is to seek to understand the thing that triggers me. And that is where laziness comes. At times we are too lazy to do this. Just taking a notebook and looking at the moment when I'm triggered. What caused my trigger? How did I fail? And we write these things down. But of course, at that particular moment, for me, Felicitas, allow me, I will speak from the biblical point of view. The Bible gives solution, and the Bible says, put off, and it gives you what to put on. God has never left us without answers. He says, put off this and put on this. So if I don't have a clear understanding of what I need to put off and a clear understanding of what I need to put on, it doesn't matter how much wisdom I have. If I don't put that action on, nothing will change. And I'll end up blaming the world, blaming the butterflies, and blaming even oxygen for not giving me enough oxygen to my brain. Thank you, Auntie Liz.
Thank you, Charles. I want to pick something. Felicitas, I would want to say something. There's somebody who is an expert in sexual violence, and she'll want to say something about why did that girl go away and come back. Welcome, Judy. Where is she? Lincoln, unmute her because she is not among the. Lincoln, unmute Judy.
I'm okay now.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I just realized that I'm responding to the question about the child who went away after she was sexually assaulted. And one of the common things is when somebody rapes you, they take away your control. And in running away, this child is trying to get back their control. And at times, that leaves them even more vulnerable. And as a result, they are creating a huge wall around themselves to try and protect themselves so that whatever happened does not happen again. Unfortunately, because they are raw, they have been just hurt, it's easy for them to fall victims again and again, or they become even more vulnerable to other situations, or they become very toughened. As a result, I would want to find out, the parents need to find out what would be the reason why she doesn't want help. Could it be that she's avoiding to think about it, or she's avoiding to talk about it? She wants to forget about it. And so bringing it up again means she has to deal with it. Unfortunately, if she doesn't deal with it, it means that this will just be something that keeps on recurring. Clearly, her going away means she's not dealing with it well. And as a result, she needs help. So I've seen quite a number of survivors of rape who do not want to remember. They want to block it. And probably that's why she's avoiding therapy. And that avoidance is not really a good way. It can be, but it's not necessarily a good way of dealing with whatever has happened. So probably if the mother can be able to talk to me or can inbox me so that we can be able to explore exactly how to go about it so that the girl is able to get help. Because probably her creating this huge wall is also a way of trying to protect herself so that whatever happened does not happen to her again. In a nutshell, I hope I've answered, but maybe I would need more information to be able to probably answer conclusively. Over and out. Back to studio.
Thank you, Judy. And I hope whoever asked the question can get the number of Judy and inbox her, and then they can talk, because she deals with the gender survivors, so she's in a position to help. That's what we are talking about, the referrals. Where do we refer other people? Yes. I'm throwing it back to Liz or Felicitas.
This Charles was talking about relationships and couples.
Yes.
And a lot of what I've realized, when couples get together, they come in with a lot of secrets, because I came from my past, you came from your past, we are meeting here. Now, a lot of what my observation is, when people go for couple therapy or premarital counseling, they're brought together. And when they are brought together, I can tell you a lot of the time they are not able to talk about their issues. So my encouragement would be for those people who are engaged, who want to get married, can they find their own therapies? Can they find their own therapies before you come together as a couple? That way, you are able to know yourself deeply. Who am I? Are there issues from my past that I need to address? And the other person does the same. So when you do your couple counseling, you actually start from a better place. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Felicitas. I'll want to call Dr. Ngugu. I don't know if she's around. And the last thing we are talking about, how does addiction and substance abuse can be a contributing factor to our mental health. I don't know if Doctor is there. Is he there?
Okay.
Or you can say something, Felicitas, as we wait for. Yes.
Yes. By the mere fact that somebody is in any type of addiction, it means there's something they're trying to numb. And it is interesting that actually a lot of the times we pick addiction as being alcohol use or any kind of drug abuse. But interestingly, we have a lot of addictions. And why do we pick alcohol and drug abuse? Because they affect the body and we are able to see that. But I can tell you, you find somebody who is a shopaholic, for example, they take all the money from the family, children are not able to go to school, probably they are not able to pay rent because they're trying to numb a feeling somewhere. So basically what we are saying is the addictions in themselves is a sign that this person has a mental health issue that they need to address.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if Dr. Julius is there or he has disappeared.
Julius seemed to have dropped off. It's not
he dropped off. Okay, then maybe if there are other we will continue, because also drug and substance abuse is a big thing, is a topic on its own that we can have. And so I would love us to go down then and say why we often choose not to share our struggle with our Christian friends. What are some of the things? And I don't know if Charles, being a church minister, because I wondered if there are a few church ministers here who want to answer that. That's why I wanted Nguku also, because he's a Bible teacher and a teacher in the church. So I don't know, like, why often that I will struggle to share with my Christian friends what I'm going through. Charles, I don't know.
George, we have William Auki among the panelists. William Auki, could you, Lincoln, could you unmute William? He is here as well because he has an experience. He has shepherded the church for many years. I believe with that, he has a lot of knowledge on that. So William, please, welcome.
Yes, William.
Apologies for not informing you earlier, but I believe this is on your fingertips. So please join us.
I've muted here. Yes, good evening, everyone. I've been learning a lot, and I hope to continue learning. But if you feel someone could learn something from me, that's okay as well. I appreciate that. I think when you think about what people go through, one of the things that we try to help individuals is to be able to actually share with others what they are going through so that they can be able to get help. But one of the challenges we realize is that it is not easy to share when you are not confident about the person you are sharing whatever it is you want to share with. And so the first thing, sorry, George?
Yeah, you had disappeared. So now you are back.
Oh, sorry, it must be the network.
No, it was George. It was George who had disappeared. William was okay. William continued.
Okay, all right. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we try to do, be able to encourage people to build relationships that are safe, so that then they can feel confident in being able to maybe reach out to somebody so that they can be able to share what they're going through. Without safety in the relationship, it will be very difficult for somebody to be able to share their lives. We read from Apostle Paul himself talking to the church in Thessalonians and sharing with them that, you know, he loved them so much that he shared not only the gospel of Jesus Christ, but his life as well. And in the church, of course, the gospel is at the forefront, but the life is very crucial in terms of us being able to be vulnerable, to know each other. But without that safe space, it is difficult to be able to share. The other thing is the issue of confidentiality that we find many people are challenged with, because once I share something with Charles, and I hope that then Charles will be able to help me and walk me through, the next thing I'm hearing it from George. And, you know, then it just kills my spirit of being able to share. And, you know, we learn from the Proverbs just the importance of keeping a confidence, even as we share with one another different things. So maybe I can share those thoughts, and hopefully that helps us to just see why sometimes we are not very willing to just come forth with what we are going through. Thank you.
Before you go away, I'll still ask you one question. Before you go away. Somebody wrote that at one point, I'll not say he or she, was told, like, you don't have enough faith, everything will be okay, you need to pray more. What will you say about that as a church minister?
You do not have enough faith.
Faith, everything will be okay. You need to pray more.
Yeah, that's a valid point and a question, especially for those who are possibly mentoring others. And in the church, in our movement, we call it discipling. But if I myself, who is mentoring somebody, has not grown to a certain level, I might find myself using the very basic of what I know. And like Felicitas mentioned earlier, that, some share something they're going through, we just say, come, let us pray about this. And it ends there, because that is all I know. Let us pray. And the prayer is very important. As Elizabeth said, it is very important, but it might not be enough to solve everything. And, as we learn, we get to realize that the Bible is very wide. It has a lot that we can be able to use. And then beyond the Bible, there are now fields that people are professionals in and are able to help and support the ministry staff who deal with the spiritual, because some of these things go beyond the spiritual. They can get into medical, even as Dr. Julius was saying, and we have to just know the right place to take the person. So to say that you do not have enough faith is actually not our place as ministers, because I do not know how much faith you have on something. I might see a result and claim that, but God is the one who knows everything. And in Romans chapter 12, Paul tells us there that we need to consider ourselves with sober judgment, with the amount of faith that God has given each and every single one of us. God has given that faith. God knows that faith. I would rather trust the person to God and say, I might not be able to help in this situation. Maybe you can talk to maybe a more mature leader or somebody who has also learned a lot and gone through many things, instead of just giving that blanket statement. I remember a time when many of us, even as those who lead others, would hang on only one scripture, Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, and you say, just seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be given to you. And for any problem, we'll say, just seek first the kingdom. But how do you do it? How is it added? And you can't just do that, because there are many other scriptures that you read about in 2 Peter. Add to your faith knowledge, to your knowledge goodness, to goodness self-control. These are all things you have to be able to work through. And so when you are limited and you only have one verse, it makes you say things like those. And so I would encourage the Christians here to grow in the understanding of the heart of God and the word of God, and be able to support fully and not just give the bare minimum that we have, but to be able to have a lot more. I hope that helps, George.
Helps very well,
George, you're muted.
William.
Just to add a point on that, William,
Yes.
that's a very powerful point. Many people use and believe in the place of identifying the exact problem that the person is struggling with. Just like you said, for this reason, add on to. It could be add on to, but then they generally put it as a lack of faith. And so instead of helping the person to identify that which they need to implement, they put it general. And that, I think, at times make many Christians not to grow, and they become too general, lack of knowledge. Thank you, William, for that. Yeah.
Thank you for the addition, Charles.
There's a part that was asked earlier.
Yes.
And I thought, you bring your elder first before you speak. You learn from them. Why do we find Christians feeling shame to talk? At times, as William has said, it's lack of knowledge, one. But we also have to identify sin comes with shame, because sin takes away that which God originally planned for us. The image of God is stolen away. And so what happened, because we are not in the position, the original position God made for us, we feel shame. Now, when that shame comes, it separates us from the desired self. When the desired self is separated to the original self, that is where now we need help for someone who's outside us to help us to see that. And that is the power now of relationship, friendships, who are able to see and tell us the truth so that we don't end up suffering mental health at the end of it all. So thank you. Let me leave it there. And John, just for your information, our time is up.
Okay, let Felisa say something, and then we'll try and rush about this, because sometimes she sees some people who come from different churches, and there's fear of rejection, and people say there's everybody seems to be perfect. I also must put a face that people see I'm doing well. I don't know, Felisa, because our time is up. Can you say something about that? Then we will look at one myth about Christians, then we'll be able to wrap it up. Yes, Felicitas.
We talked about childhood experiences and
Yes.
what we tell children, for example. If, for example, a child is told, if you do this, God is gonna punish you. God is not happy with you when you do number 1, 2, 3. They start detaching from God and feeling judged. And therefore, they also associate God with a punishment. And therefore, the representation of God is who? The people who minister the church, the people who are the congregation within the church. And therefore, if I'm going to share, I'm going to be judged. Interestingly, there's a time I actually had a client who both the father and the mother were pastors. They have their own church. And this client, as they were sharing their issue, they said one thing: with what I have done, will even God ever forgive me? Will even God ever forgive me? So the question is, what is it we communicate to children? Number 2, a lot of us come from a place of rejection and judgments, and therefore we have lost trust. It takes time for people to gain trust. And that is why when we are working with them, like William said, we need to have confidence with them. We need to work with them, not even asking so many questions, but being there for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicitas. And because of time, I know we have several common myths Christians have about seeking mental therapy. Some, I don't want to mention names. There are some people who will say, where we go, we don't take people to hospital, and those kind of things. And myths are easy to believe. They always have some truths, let me say, in them, but not the whole truth. And one of the things we need to understand that Satan uses myths and half-truths to influence our minds and decision. For example, this question, I'm throwing it to either Charles or William. Like if you look at John 8:31, John 8:31 and 32, where I'm reading for another version, we say, so Jesus said to the Jews who had believed him, if you abide in my words, you are truly my disciple, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. How has this scripture been twisted around in terms of mental health? Charles or William, if you're ready to say something.
Please, William, go ahead. My power has gone off, please.
All right, no problem, Charles. Thanks, George. For that, to the Jews who had believed him, Jesus says, if you hold to my teaching, you're really my disciples, then you know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So what happens is, when you think about it, you can easily take that passage and be able to talk to people and tell them, I can tell them what me as a minister believe Jesus has said to them. And when they know it, they'll follow the truth. But the reason why many people get lost is because they don't actually know what Jesus said. and they don't follow what Jesus said. They put their trust in me as their leader, especially when they believe that I will solve their problems. So it's very easy to follow anything after that. So I can say, well, like I think Felisa was giving the example of Shakahola, I can say, well, Jesus has said we need to prepare to go and meet him. You'll believe what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because you know that if you believe what Jesus said, it will set you free. And I am telling you what Jesus said, but your trust is in me. And I think that is the challenge that we have. We need more, okay, sorry. We need more people actually going to find out what Jesus said that they need to believe in. That is what we need. We need more people who are confident in Jesus, but we are the ones who have to build that as ministers. Instead of drawing people to ourselves, Jesus wants to draw people to himself. And that is where rogue preachers come in, and they mess up with people's minds. And that kind of verse is very powerful. Once I use it and I say, now I am the messenger of Jesus, listen to what I say. I can just turn it around and you will believe anything I say. Okay. That's one of the aspects that you can experience.
That is well said.
And other scriptures.
Thank you. Charles, you had raised up your hand, or it was by mistake?
I was giving very wide clapping for my brother. That was a very wide answer. Okay. Thank you.
I have one question for Felicitas before we wind up. There's this somebody has sent to me and says like it's a couple, but one of the spouse doesn't need help, and is seeking help out there. Not really help. He doesn't want to listen to anybody. The friends in church, he doesn't want to listen to, and the other partner doesn't know even what now to do. How can we help this partner who doesn't know what to do? Because the other one has refused all the helps.
The partner who is confused and not knowing what to do, they actually need to take care of themselves. They need to find help themselves because already they are conflicted in the relationship, they are under great stress, distress, and they need to find themselves. They may even realize, what is it with me? Why am I accepting the abuse? Maybe the partner is a representation of their own father or an authority figure in their life who gave them some traumas.
Okay. Thank you. I want to finish up, then I'll send it back to
William.
William, you want to say something?
Yeah, just a little bit on that to add on what Felisa has said. I think it is important to also realize that, like she's saying, that person needs to find themselves because they are a grown-up, they're an adult. Many times what we want to do is to change people. And so if my spouse or partner is in a situation like that, I wish I could just shake them up and everything will fall into place. It doesn't work like that. And sometimes if they do not realize and actually desire that help and assistance, however much we talk to them, however much somebody tries to do something, it's not going to come through. It's almost like somebody who, like we were saying earlier, they don't realize that they have a mental health issue. And then you bring it up and say, I think you need to see somebody and say, are you saying I'm mad? And then, but they don't see it themselves. How are they going to begin to get that help? And so it is important to prompt the person, to give suggestions, and to let them know that you are with them. And if it is in a relationship, like they say, it takes two to tango. There is no way, you are going to be in something, in a situation, in a couple, and only one person is the person who is done a bad thing. It's always two. It takes two to tango. So even the other person has to examine themselves and really strive, like we say in church, to be like Jesus. So that when there's something that needs to change in the other person, you just let them know, but you love them. Just like Jesus with the rich man. He looked at him and he told him, sell everything you have, then come follow me, and you will have the kingdom of heaven. The man refused because he had great wealth. But then Jesus left him. He did not force him to do what Jesus knew was the right thing for him to do. But he had to go and figure himself out. The story ends there, but I don't know. Maybe the person came back later after realizing that, you know what I was told is actually the thing I needed to look at. After times of meditation, times of talking with other people, and times of prayer, God, through his spirit, this person is in the spirit. God reveals some of these things to us by and by. I thought I'll add that before we finish. Thank you.
Thank you, William. So me, what I'm taking home towards the end is just like taking personal responsibility towards my own mental health is important. And I need to know that by me taking care of myself, then I can be able to take care of people around me. So as Christians, also we need to take care of ourselves. Like some of the things we are talking about, personal trials and hurts may happen to us. So it's important to learn compassion and empathy for others. Everybody has a story about their childhood, whether good or bad, but it's important to have knowledge of behavior of hurting people. And then we need to not just listening to what we are being told. We need to be like the Bereans. We go back and check, is this right? Even what we talked about today. And thank you everybody for today. Thank you for listening. I send it back. Is it to Charles or to Liz?
I will take it over because of
Yes.
time. And
Yes.
I just would want to request for one parting shot, 2 or 3 words from each person, each of the panelists, William included and Auntie Judy included, just a parting shot. What have you to tell us in finishing or in ending?
Thank you. Let me go first, and first really appreciate Madam Felicitas for taking us through such incredible information, and also everyone who was involved, including Dr. Nguku. But one of the things that I am picking is that Christians are like any other human being. We all face mental health challenges, and we need to be aware of that. And secondly, in as much as there's support around me, I also have personal responsibility. Thank you very much, and over.
Thank you, Madam Felicitas.
That was Liz.
That was Liz.
Yes.
I said thank you to Liz, but next, Madam Felicitas.
Okay. I
Your
would
parting
like
shot.
first to say thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you. Number 2, I feel I would say let's sensitize people about mental health. Let's sensitize people about mental health in our congregation. Let them preach that gospel home so that we can help as many people as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Felicitas. Next to Auntie Judy, and then we go to, we call him Uncle William, our lead evangelist of the church. Yeah? We needed to have done a good introduction anyway earlier. Yes, Judy, go ahead.
Okay. I'm glad we are having this conversation as a church. I think they say there is no health without mental health. Even if your body is all well, there is no malaria, there is no COVID, there is nothing, but mentally you're not okay, you cannot be healthy. So I'm glad we are having this conversation. It's important that we are also cognizant of the fact that rape is one of the major causes of mental health issues. It's actually not a major, but it's one of the causes of mental health issues in young adults, children, and even adults. And as a result, it's important that we are also having conversations about rape. Many other times we talk about don't talk to strangers, even with our children, yet 90% of people are raped by people that they know. So only 10% of people are raped by strangers. So it's important we are having this conversation so that we are also helping our congregation and the people that we know, the people that we love, we are also able to take care of them as long as we are breaking this ice, creating safe environment so that people can be able to talk about some of these things. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Auntie Judy. Back to William.
Thank you, Charles. Let me say a big thank you to Felicitas as well for just coming in to take us through this dialogue, and the entire team. We really appreciate. It's a great eye-opener for many things that we go through and don't even think. All of us who are here and who have been listening and who have been learning and adding on to what we already have or new to this, and really trying to wrestle with it, that God is ultimate in our lives. God knows us more than we know ourselves, but also God has given each one a gift that they can be able to use. So that if we have mental health professionals, they're there by the grace of God, and God gives them wisdom to understand some of these things. When we have medical doctors who are also there, they have that wisdom from God. So let's not shy away from walking and working with the different people that God has put in our society, in the church, that have these gifts from God, so that then we can all come together to be able to help each other. Because as we started, all of us have some sort of a mental health issue there. We don't want to accept it, but it is there. We have our panic attacks, we have our anxiety, we have our depressions, withdrawals, and all kinds of things that we go through. But we don't want to look at them as mental health issues because of the stigma that the society ties to somebody who we say is mental, you know. But the truth of the matter is that we are all in there. Let us embrace it. Let's bring it up. Let's discuss it, and ask God to help us to be vulnerable so that we can all get the help we need. Now, when we are healthy, we will be stronger to be able to take the gospel of Jesus to the corners of this world. Thank you very much.